Oh, snap. What's going on? Now you're quiet. I don't hear you. I think the little cat decided to take out your maybe your plug for your mic or
Oh no, there
something.
it goes.
Oh,
No,
there
I
we
think
go.
yeah. I have to use my iPhone's microphone for some reason. I don't know,
Huh,
but it won't use my Logitech
huh.
the camera. I don't know.
Well,
Anyway,
that's very strange. But either way,
yeah.
it's EV
Anyway,
money.
here I
It's
am.
EV money. Talking about EVs,
Yep.
some of the things going on there. We have got a pretty good show for you today. Let me pull up the rundown for you. We're going to be
Right.
talking about how EVs may be becoming more affordable for Uber and Lyft drivers, especially if you're looking for something new. This might
Okay.
be now an option for you. We're going to be talking about some of the discounts as well when it comes to that. We're going to be talking about a follow up to your Bolt EV battery and what happened. We talked about that last month. So we're going to be talking about an update. We're going to be talking about autonomous vehicles, especially what happened what was it, this past week or something with everything, what you saw just the other day and yesterday with these things. I still think we should just get cones and place it on top of them and call it a day.
Cones,
Or my drone ghost idea.
drones, and
Um,
cones.
yeah. Then we're going to be talking about GM, the Blazer, Tesla, and some tire talk, and then a couple other things. So welcome, EV Money. How you been,
Oh
Gabe?
man,
What's going on?
I've been okay. I've been all right. Managing. Super slow, super saturated market. I'm only doing Lyft because Lyft pays a fat EV bonus here in California, and
Hmm.
Lyft is so absurdly oversaturated because those fools are paying out bonuses like you wouldn't believe. Just huge bonuses. Hundreds of.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna make $600 in bonuses this week for doing 100 rides. Like,
nice. You can't
I mean,
complain
it's
there.
great. It's great,
I mean,
but Lyft, Risher, David Risher. Let me. I'll channel Serge. I'll channel Sergio. David Risher, come on, man! You're giving away all this money. Come on, just pay us. Just pay us fairly. We don't need it.
well, you know what though? If they start paying fairly on top of these
Yeah,
or besides these bonuses,
we don't need
then
bonuses.
you're just gonna be oversaturated as well.
Pay me $1.30 a mile and 45 cents a minute or whatever, and don't pay me any bonuses. Make me buy my own insurance. Make me get a city license to do it, and that'll weed out most of the ants. And I'll work when it's busy, and I won't work when it's not busy. And that's the self-correcting market. Why do we need all this
Well,
nonsense?
speaking of a dollar
Anyway,
thirty and what you'd
I'm already
mentioned for rates, uh, city of Minneapolis just had
oh
their vote
victory.
just a little while ago.
Oh,
So if you're living in Minneapolis, you're going to be really happy because the city council just approved new rules that would make rideshare workers among the
where
highest paid in the country, which is $1.40 per mile and 51 cents per minute. The 7-5 vote was met with cheers from dozens of supporters, including drivers who have championed the measure as a victory for dignity and fair wages. Opponents, however, worry the move could ultimately lead to unaffordable fares that could hurt driver income and disproportionately affect poorer riders. Well, what I have to say to that is whatever happened to public transportation?
what?
Public transportation's still there. So, you know what? Uber and Lyft
But
aren't public transportation. You have to pay for it. Just
yeah.
saying. But either way, um, yeah. So council members had voted against 7-5. Now it is going to go in front of Mayor Jacob Frey, who has expressed strong reservations about the ordinance. And I'm going to say
Oh,
that is probably because of lack of
several.
education.
No, I think it might be several 100,000 sequential, unmarked reservations.
No, I don't know about that. I think he's following in
Are you sure
the
though?
governor's foot. No, I think he's following in the governor's footsteps.
These guys.
So he's saying he expressed strong reservations about the ordinance, but has not yet he hasn't said whether he'll veto it or not. Thursday, a Frey spokesperson had said he needs time to review the ordinance and amendments made to it. So he has until Wednesday at noon to act. So very, very soon, what's going to happen here. My thought is the reason why he's got strong reservations is not because he's getting paid off or anything like that. It's because he just doesn't know. He doesn't understand the gig economy. He doesn't know what gig workers are facing, especially Uber and Lyft drivers, since this is primarily dealing with Uber and Lyft driving. But yeah, he doesn't understand it. He doesn't know it. It's the same thing what happened in Colorado. Sergio had just met that one who was kind of on board at the beginning and then changed the vote. And he said after talking to him, it was very clear that he was uneducated when it came down to what was going on. So that's why he had a 45-minute conversation with him. And I think this is just the same thing. I think that the mayor doesn't know. So if you're in Minneapolis and you're happy about this, let us know. I think it's great for drivers. Now it's going to be a crazy couple of months first. Subscribe because Joe lives in Minneapolis. So our RideShare Guy contributor, Joe, who you've seen on the channel many times, I'm sure, he is in that area. So he's going to be following it very closely because it does directly affect him. So he's probably going to be putting a couple of videos out. But basically, yeah, the next steps is what's the mayor going to do? What is Uber and Lyft going to do? Because they're claiming that they're going to pull out January 1st, which came out a couple of days ago, them saying that, which I think it's all BS. I think they're calling a bluff, or I think their bluff is blown at this point when it comes down to it. And I think it's just giving them the resources to try to fight it by saying, oh, we're going to go until that time, and let's see what happens from there. So it'll be pretty interesting to see nonetheless. But yeah, that is what's going on in Minneapolis right now. Chicago is the next city that is going to be looking at a ordinance when it comes to these rates that they're doing. So we'll keep you up to date on that. Definitely make sure you hit up not only the channel itself, because we will have update videos, but also Show Me the Money Club on Tuesdays, where we're going to be talking about this and go into depth more on it. So that's all I got to say about Minneapolis and what's going on there. I know Joe will be making a video on that very soon, so stay tuned for that. If you aren't subscribed already, I don't know why you're not, but make sure you do.
Okay. Yes, I'm subscribing right now. I'm gonna.
Wait,
you're
smash,
on the channel. I'm gonna smash the like button. Smash it. Smash it. It's two-dimensional, but I'm gonna smash it anyway. Yeah. All right. So now what?
Well, now we're going to get into today's show. So first, I think you want to talk about
we just started
about I think you want to talk about the EV group and
yes.
Hello EV group.
Yeah, I think we got a couple of guys hailing in from there, Nathaniel and Kevin. Hopefully, I don't know, or maybe they came from somewhere else. But
those are all YouTube.
Oh, okay.
You should in the little corner you'll see where it's from, so it'll show the little YouTube icon or Facebook. Yeah. So
okay,
that'll let you know, which is pretty cool.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on, you two, and anyone else who's watching, thank you very much for watching. But we have an EV Uber and Lyft drivers group over on Facebook, and if you don't hate Facebook too much, you can head over there and join up. Facebook is irritating, but we manage this group so carefully to keep out the bots and the spams and the trolls and all the other unpleasantness about the internets. And we think it's a pretty good place to hang out and make connections and learn about EVs. And I and my moderators work really hard to keep the FUD out. You know what FUD is, Chris? Fear,
there could be a couple of things. FUD could be
FUD, like Elmer Fudd.
Yeah. There could be a few different. But either way, one of the things, link is going to be in the description for those who may not be watching there in the Facebook group already. If you're on YouTube elsewhere, hit the EV group up, especially if you're looking for an EV or drive an EV for Uber and Lyft.
There's fools that are posting fear, uncertainty, and doubt. There's fools on posting fear, uncertainty, and doubt. If you post that shit, you can get right the fuck out. That's my anti-FUD song.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so please, and then there's a link for the EV group in the show notes, I'm hoping.
Yep.
Or on the, yep. Okay.
Yeah. So
Groovy.
if you're interested in becoming an EV driver or, already and looking for, some other people who are driving EVs, whether it's in your market or not in your market, because this is I believe, global group at this point now. A couple people, I think, in Australia or so interesting. But yeah.
All right, man. Okay. So, sorry, Sergio just sent an email germane to our robo-taxi discussion, but let's dig into electric vehicles.
Yeah, we can talk about that a different time. Sergio's waiting. He's trying to run the show again from the back end. He's like, "Come on, guys, come on."
You can't.
But
I think take a day off.
No, I mean, Sergio definitely can. But either way, I think one of the things is probably my big sticking point when it comes to EVs too is sometimes the cost that's associated with them. The higher end cost, I should say, meaning the upfront cost. Now, I understand, yes, you have your costs when your total cost of the car, and that's what you really got to look at whenever you get a vehicle, no matter what. What's the total cost of the car? So, how if it's gas car, how much is mile per gallon? What's the maintenance costs on that? BMW has a lot higher parts costs than, say, something like Jeep or Honda. So there's a lot of things there that you need to take into consideration when looking for a vehicle. So the biggest thing is, I think it's a lot of people have sticker shock when they look at EVs and the prices. They say, hey, look, this car costs, on average, maybe 25,000 for a new car. This thing is 35, 45, 65, 75,000, 100,000 at times, or more. And I think that's one of the biggest things. But what's going on? What's going on, Gabe? Like, what's going on with the prices of these things now?
Well, it's a nascent technology, and you don't have the volume of gasoline cars. And then we've had this horrible supply chain shortage over the last 3 years that's really impacted microchips and then the stuff they use to make batteries. And also in our country, we didn't develop the battery production capacity that China, for instance, has built. If it wasn't for Tesla, we'd be barely making any EV batteries here at all. So that's changing very rapidly because of the Inflation Reduction Act. But also, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, electric vehicles are becoming really cost competitive. And the ironic thing is, most Americans have no idea. So here's this story that popped up on the Electrek blog. There was a survey. I think was it JD Powers? It's one of the big kind of consumer tracking groups. And they surveyed Americans, and 71% of them had no idea that you can get any money from the Inflation Reduction Act. By the way, the Inflation Reduction Act, a lot of people think the name is a joke, but when the writers of the bill put it forward, they did the analysis, and the Congressional Budget Office agreed that the net cost of the bill would be negative $300 billion per year by the end of the implementation period of the bill, so in the next 10 years. So that's why it's called the Inflation Reduction Act, because it will reduce the deficit, which should have a effect on inflation. But 10 years from now, inflation is not really going to be an issue. In fact, inflation right now is down a lot. I know it doesn't feel like that when you go to the gas pump and you see $5 a gallon here in Northern California. But anyway, there's a tremendous amount of money in the Inflation Reduction Act, not just for electric vehicles, but also for efficient appliances like heat pumps for air conditioning and heating, and also for charging infrastructure, and solar panels as well, up to 30% of the cost of the solar. So this addresses a lot of issues that people have, including expense, and also the environmental impact of generating electricity from like coal or natural gas to charge your batteries. But getting back to the money, which is the best part of it, there's $7,500, and what probably a lot of EV drivers don't know is that the $7,500 is conditional. It's conditional on where the car is made and where the materials for the battery come from, and also on the price of the vehicle. But you can supervent. I don't know, what's the word I'm thinking of? Circumvent. Circumvent. You can circumvent those conditions by using your car for rideshare, because there's a whole different section of the Inflation Reduction Act for commercial vehicles, and it doesn't matter where the car is made, just that it is what they call a not zero emissions, but what they call a clean vehicle, and that can include hydrogen fuel cell, and it can be, as long as it's legal to drive in the United States, you will get that $7,500 tax credit if you are using it for commercial purpose, including rideshare driving. Now, the rules haven't been finalized because the IRS has until the end of this year to kind of figure it all out. But starting in 2024, that tax credit is going to be transferable. And I don't know if the commercial tax credit is going to be transferable. Also, if your vehicle is over 8,000 pounds, and this rule has been around for 20 or 30 years and is one of the reasons why we have so many immense sport utility vehicles in this country. If your vehicle weighs over 8,000 pounds, you get to deduct something like $35,000 of the cost of that on your taxes. So yeah, that's been around for decades. Like they invented it. They came up with the rule for farmers and contractors with heavy duty work equipment. But now the largest SUVs are over 8,000 pounds. Like, well, I guess we'll talk about some more of those later. But some of these cars and trucks are actually, the GM, the Hummer EV. Did I tell you this? Yep. It weighs the same as a 1930s era German Panzer One, 8,800 pounds. Yeah.
That's a little heavy there.
Yeah, it wasn't their best tank, but it was a tank. It was literally a tank. So there you go.
That thing is literally a tank now too. Oh, speaking of Hummer, did you see the I think it's a sheik in, I want to say like Saudi Arabia or something. They have a Hummer. This thing is like 3 times the size of a normal Hummer. Like, you go up in it and it's like, it looks like you're on a boat. This thing is ginormous. It is huge.
What do you mean they like built a custom Hummer that's like gigantic? Like you can.
Oh yeah, it's like insane. Like, yeah, it's crazy. If you're
electric?
going down the street with this thing, no, God no, God no. The amount of oil that they're pumping out over there, you're like, no, they got like 2 giant motors that will turn the wheels there, and oh my God, yeah. I'll send you the video when I come across it again. I'll look it up. But yeah, anybody who's watching, if you want to take a look at the craziest Hummer in the world, look that thing up, because that thing is ginormous, and it's based off the old Hummer design too. So it looks like an old
military one. Yeah.
So it's really crazy. But yeah, that thing, you gotta go up in the center of it to get into it, and then it's got like
like through a
literally
ladder at the
it's like, yeah, there's a bathroom in it. There's no, there's like a kitchen in it. There's all this stuff. It's crazy. It's insane how big this thing is.
Is it on the approved vehicle list, the Uber approved vehicle list?
Maybe there, but not here.
For Uber Black. Yeah.
Yeah. They'd have to make that own segment. They'd have to do like Uber like sheet or something, or chic, Uber chic.
If you had that car to do Uber with, most
you could just run cars over.
Yeah, well, that'd be good. But also, you could most of your passengers would be like, "This is amazing," but I guarantee you, about half the passengers they'd have their headphones on and they'd be staring at their phone, and they would just get in
right?
and get in the back seat. They wouldn't say anything, and they would just they'd be like, "Bye," and they just get out.
There's no back seat. There's no. You literally gotta crawl, or you gotta climb up the ladder, like the steps, to go in. There's no. I mean, I'm sure majority of people will probably just be on their phone, and be like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And then not paying attention, but holy crap, yeah, check that thing out. It's crazy. Yeah, I saw that.
Oh man, so you'd have to. Oh man, but then at the end of every shift, you'd have to clean the bathroom, and restock the kitchen.
I'd be like, driver use only.
Hang a little sign on it.
But like literally, you and I could stand under this thing as it's driving over you. Like, just don't be by the wheels, because the wheels will destroy you. But like, if you're in the center of this thing, then you and I could be literally standing right there, and it'll just go right over you, like no problem. It's insane. It's crazy. But back to the EVs. No, that's not that's not an electric vehicle. I'm sure maybe they could try making it at something like that. Could be the true Tesla, like massive truck. They'll call it the Tesla massive truck.
The Tesla XXX.
Yeah, right. But yeah, pretty interesting. But yeah, I think going back to the costs of these things. So yeah, it's seeing. So what's going on with some of these automakers now that like we've seen some of these chip shortages kind of decrease, more EVs available on dealers' lots. What's going on?
Yeah, Ford, they've been ramping up production in their Mexico factory to make their Mach-E's. They're also doing some stuff to make the Mach-E's less expensive to produce. They're not dropping the prices that much. Kia, Hyundai, they have the EV6 and the Ioniq 5, and that is coming over from Korea, where it's made in huge numbers, where a year ago you couldn't get these things, but now every dealership has like 30 or 50 or 60 of these on the lot. And they have a glut of the SEL, is the like middle trim, is the mid-level trim, and which is like the minimum trim level that I'd buy, and the all-wheel drive, which I don't need here, but a lot of people like it. And anyway, they have a glut of these things, and you can see this is a Gilroy, California, south of San Jose, and so this car is discounted $10,500, and they'll probably come down even more, and that puts that car at $43,380, and then there's another trade-in discount for $1,000. They'll give you an extra $1,000 on whatever you're trading in.
Now, my question though, beyond that, is does that $10,000 savings include the $7,500 in it? If you're
no,
because this
car's made in Korea, so there's no tax credit. If you lease it. But if you lease it, they will fold. They can. If you lease it, this is another thing that most Americans probably don't know. If you lease a car, they will take that $7,500, and because it's for commercial use, the manufacturer gets the money. Because when you lease a car, the finance arm of the manufacturer purchases the vehicle from the manufacturer for a commercial purpose. So that means the leasing arm gets the $7,500. They can apply it to subvent the lease price and give you a lower lease payment, which is still a friggin' ripoff, because interest rates are so high. Because do you know what I found out about leasing, Chris?
Don't many leasing agencies say that you cannot use it or you cannot use a leased vehicle to do Uber and Lyft and food delivery? Many of them don't. Many of them have that in there that you can't do that.
Yeah,
it might be. I don't know if it's across the entire country, but I know in New York, there's a lot of stipulations that will say you will not use your car for gig work or anything like that. That you're using the car for yourself, essentially.
Other than the mileage restrictions, which that's something you should consider, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But other than the mileage restrictions, I don't think there's anything inherent in a lease that makes it illegal or that you can't use it for rideshare. There's probably state stuff that might affect that in the case of New York. In California, there's no such restrictions. Although obviously you have to look at the language of the lease. It might actually have a restriction in there, in the same way your insurance policy has a restriction. But I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to impound. They're gonna like find out that you were doing rideshare, and then
No,
I mean,
the reality. The reality is, it's
it
going to come down to
if
the
they find out?
mileage. Like,
Yeah.
if you have a certain mileage, rideshare, you could easily go through that very quickly, depending on how often you're out there. I wouldn't even talk about leasing. Like, when it comes to Uber and Lyft, if you're planning on using the car for Uber and Lyft at all, I wouldn't even consider leasing as an option, because it's just not going to be worth it. Whether you buy used, whether you buy new, which not necessarily going to be the smartest decision, but sometimes if you're looking to get into a new car, take advantage of some of the things that Uber and Lyft have to offer on top of that. But yeah, leasing, I would stay far away from when it comes down to it.
I mean, yeah.
Just because.
Yeah, I agree. Well, what I found out is they make leasing very, very complicated and hard to understand. And I worked in the car industry selling cars for a couple of years. So, and I have no idea what leases are all about and how they work. But it turns out that to calculate the interest payment on a lease, you add the full MSRP of the car plus the amount that it's going to depreciate. So if it's a $50,000 car and it depreciates 25 grand, you finance $75,000 for 3 years.
Wow.
And that's why lease payments are, and then they usually add 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 points to whatever the prime rate is. And so it's like, so that's why you get lease payments that when you add up all the payments, it's like twice the amount you're actually depreciating. You're like, where's all this money going? Why are these payments so high? I thought you were going to take off $7,500. Like, oh, we did. Oh, this is still what the price. I'm like, you're not actually giving us any money, you greedy bastards.
Now,
so
this Ioniq 5 that we just had posted right here. Now, whoops.
Oh, so what I want to finish up about the Ioniq 5 is, in addition to that 10.5, so now if you buy this car, when you file taxes next year, I think always consult with a licensed tax professional. And this is not advice in any way, but my understanding is that just like a leasing company, you're eligible for the $7,500 tax credit if on the tax form you say that it's for a business purpose, and it is. You're a rideshare driver, and I don't know if you like say it might be something like, did you use it 50% of the time? What was the mileage? Blah blah blah. So maybe you'll only be eligible for part of it. I just don't know what the rules are, because no one does.
Yeah, I was just about to ask if you knew that.
IRS hasn't published any rules, so we don't know. There's some.
Yeah, and then it depends too. Like, are you full-time driving? Are you part-time driving? Are you doing it on the weekends? Are you doing it one-off, maybe once a week or something? Maybe you're doing it just for making sure you can cover this bill or that bill or whatever. So everybody's going to be different on the terms. I think that definitely needs to be clarified if it's not already. Like, what's the usage stipulation on that? How often do you have to drive? How often do you have to meet those requirements in order to get that qualification for that commercial $7,500? Is definitely something that we should need to look into. So, Gabe, I'm going to charge you with that.
Okay, I'm going to look into it. We got some reader comments. Dave R sounds like would have a great time in our, maybe not a great time, but we would love to have Dave join our EV group. I love hearing the EV success stories. He has a 2018 Bolt. I had a 2018 Bolt. Customers love it. My customers loved it too. He bought it new in 2018. He got the $7,500 federal tax credit in 2018. He got lucky. He got it early enough in 2018 to be eligible for it back then. But he also got a $2,500.
Look at that. That's $11,500 right there.
And then 500 from PG&E. And then he also has solar panels on his home. So he's paying very little to drive that car. Dave, I'm wondering if you got your new battery. Also, another wonderful thing that Dave has probably discovered is that his battery was replaced under a recall. Every Chevy Bolt built either had the battery rebuilt or replaced, and then his battery warranty restarted on the installation date of the new battery. So Dave's battery warranty is probably not going to expire until 2030, possibly.
And then here, look at this one: 21 Bolt, $25,000 purchase price. Got 7,500 grant for a down payment, 7,500 federal tax, 2,500 tax for California, 1,000 from Uber, 1,000 from San Joaquin Valley. If I screwed that up, my bad.
Yeah, San Joaquin. Joaquin.
4,000 from Edison, 1,000 for the charger, 1,000 for the charger cord.
Yeah, look at Dave. 75,000 miles. He got another 100,000 miles on his warranty. His battery warranty is going to go until 2029 or 2030 and 175,000 miles. You show me any what gasoline car has a 175,000 mile warranty? And with the GM EVs, the battery warranty covers all the like battery ancillaries, right? So the inverter module, there's so many. Oh my god, do you know how? Wait, did I drop this little bit of trivia on you? I have profound ADD.
Oh, how many parts are in an EV or the book?
It's the manual, the shop manual. Yeah, didn't I tell you last time? Yeah.
Yeah, it was
5,000
like
pages. 5,000, 8,000 pages. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. There are so many sensors. I have a OBD reader, and you can download all the codes for all the different sensors in in a Chevy Bolt. There are, I don't know, 400 or 500 sensors in that thing. It tells you everything, man. It tells you temperature, speed, acceleration,
volt.
Like, there's a gravitometer.
You need to run pretty much the voltage at every stop of the way, temperature every stop of the way, just to make sure nothing is overheating.
Yeah, well, you don't have to be that paranoid. But the car has to know
about the car
Oh,
itself.
yeah. No, like the driver doesn't need to know this unless you're super geeky. But there's a volt reading for every cell group. There's 96 cell groups in that car. And that's going to lead into my Bolt problems a little later on, but we'll
talk about that.
But wrapping up affordability of these cars. So Tesla, did we talk about the super cheap Tesla yet?
This one right here.
This guy, 13,620. You're not finding a. So the cheapest used Tesla right now is about 28 grand. I mean, one that isn't salvage title or isn't in Florida. Don't buy used cars in Florida because you can revive salvage titles in Florida. It's 13,620. Now this guy had a very kind of unique story because he was on some kind of public assistance program and that made him eligible for additional discounts. And if we want to debate the morality of using public assistance programs to buy a luxury car, we could do that elsewhere.
Well, would you consider a Tesla Model 3 a luxury car though?
This is a debate that I think it's a very interesting debate. And I would say if you consider a BMW 3 Series a luxury car, and it is considered an entry-level luxury car, I would say, yeah, in terms of like ride quality, handling, interior, like standard features, fit and finish, and performance, and like kind of targeted demographic, I'd say, yeah, I think it's arguable. I mean, all those things are arguable, how great they are. And a lot of people judge Teslas on what they were like 6 years ago, the Model 3s, because that's when they started building them, is 6 years ago. And the first couple of years, they had problems. Like most manufacturers have problems in their first model years, especially if they're going from making 20,000 cars a year to 1 million, right? Yep. Like you're gonna have teething pains.
Oh, speak of the devil, there's Sergio.
Hey, what's up, boss man? There's the Surge.
All right. I mean, it's definitely interesting to see how you can, piggyback all of these different types of rebates. But
do we have a link for that Twitter?
No.
Don't we have a link for the article on I think I deleted it. Hang on a second. Did I keep it?
Yeah, I think you might have deleted it.
We got someone wants a breakdown. Should we so roughly it's
just here's the easiest thing. Email Gabe.
Yeah.
And he'll be able to send you that link.
Yes.
Or if you want, join the EV Facebook group, make a post on the group, and then he can
we
link
actually,
the article
yeah,
to it.
that article's linked in there, so you can do a search and find it. But basically, it was a $7,500 tax credit. It was also if you're the clean vehicle rebate in California is income dependent, so you can get up to $4,000 there. There's also a program, local utilities, and in his case, the San Joaquin Valley, the power district there had some pretty large rebates, and there might be one or two other things. It's incredible. There's like a list of 100 different rebates and benefits that you can get in California for driving an EV, and people just don't know about this stuff, and it takes and if you just assume that, oh, Teslas are really expensive, I can never afford one, you'll never know. But if you actually go and get the actual information, you can see that when you combine fuel and maintenance savings, these things are much cheaper than owning a Toyota Camry, and a Toyota Camry definitely isn't a luxury car.
No, definitely not. But no, I mean, Teslas are cool. Teslas are nice, but yeah, it's interesting. Now they just got to bring. I think the other thing, California has a lot of different additional, rebates and what they're doing to work within trying to get people to switch to EVs. But a lot of other states do not have stuff like that. So, that to me right there, it's like, okay, well, I'll wait to see if they're going to even add anything additional, because to me it's like sometimes the cost is just too great overall. And then yeah, okay, $7,500 tax credit's nice, but it only brings it down to 7,500. Is the state doing something extra? Are these other areas doing something extra? So yeah, it's a whole different thing there.
We don't have to refute each one of these. Didn't these guys, you see these comments posting, Nate Storm says EVs are a scam. Papa Jib says EVs cost more to drive than a low-cost gas car. Well, I guess I mean, are you talking like a 20-year-old Toyota Corolla? In terms of, so of course. But you compare apples to apples, Papa Jib. If you compare a brand new Nissan Sentra, to use an example that's in the comments right now, to a brand new even Model 3 with all the rebates applied, you're at the end of 10 years, you're going to come out ahead with the Tesla. And we don't even know what the price of gas is going to do in the next 10 years. I'm pretty sure it's not going to go down.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Either way, I think don't worry, everybody. If you guys are on the fence, I like to play a devil's advocate as well too.
Sure.
I am not an EV owner, and I'm one of those who are like to question. And trust me, I look at all those types of articles too when it comes to the comparison between EVs and gas cars, and is there really any savings there and all that. So there's definitely going to be a good dynamic back and forth when it comes to this show. So make sure you're subscribed. We do this show once a month, so yeah, stay tuned for that, because we're definitely going to throw those into it when it comes down to a lot of different things. So
yeah. Tom, you're wrong. You lose about 5% of your range driving an EV. They use a different kind of air conditioning than the 1963 Carrier unit that you have on the side of your house. So it's not the same thing, Tom. It's not the same thing at all. You lose about 5% range. Teslas and most new EVs have 5%, Tom. Look it up. Okay, so what's the next thingamajig we're doing?
Oh, we're going to be talking about your 2022 Bolt.
Yes.
Already needing a new battery.
Already?
Yeah.
I think, what I think happened? I think the dealer where I bought it, and I won't name names, but I don't think they're a very ethical dealer. No, they didn't really do this, but who knows if they actually replaced the battery that they got from GM when it was time to do the recall replacement. Maybe they left the crappy battery in there. I don't know. Anyway, I've had the car a year, and I noticed it never gave me the range that it was supposed to. So I took it to the dealer, did a lot of back and forth, opened a trouble ticket with GM, did a lot of middle-aged man complaining, and they And finally, they're going to give me a new battery because I had the OBD reader and the OBD software to tell me that one of my cell groups had a voltage discrepancy that was, and then when I drained the battery below 25%, because I took it in there with a full battery and they plugged it into their GM diagnostic equipment, and they're like, oh, there's nothing wrong with this. There's no codes, right? So they gave it back to me, and I'm like, oh yeah. So I drove it down to like 2%, and I brought it in, and I'm like, check it now, fuckers. And they checked it, and lo and behold, it was like 2 or 3 times the discrepancy required to trigger battery replacement. So that's what they're going to do. I mean, theoretically, they only have to do. They would only have to do like one of the cell groups.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just going to do the whole battery. So again, now instead of having a 100,000 mile warranty, I'm going to have a 120,000 mile warranty by the time it gets replaced.
Nice. Well, that came
now.
in. Meow.
There's a giant cat attacking me.
Well, speaking of attacking, I think we should talk about what we've been seeing when it comes to the streets of San Francisco and some of those driverless EVs out there on the road. So this little number right here, you want to tell us what happened here?
Oh, yeah, this is some autonomous vehicles. So in case people don't know, there's a fleet of 400 autonomous cruise
Soon to be
vehicles.
2,500.
Well, between Cruise and Waymo, yeah. Boy, Tom and Dave R didn't listen to my song. Should I play it again? They're still posting the FUD.
Oh, let them.
Okay.
That's the whole point of the show, is to be able to go back and forth. So
yeah, sure. But
Sergio, this was Gabe's picture. So
well, I didn't take a picture. That's from a Twitter post.
oh, okay. Well, I saw it from you posting it on Facebook.
Right, but they were the car just drove into a construction zone and sunk to its hubs in the wet cement.
Yeah.
So maybe it thought it was the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and it was gonna get its footprints next to Rita Hayworth or something.
I don't know, but there's been a lot of trouble with these things, hasn't there been?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of them, and I mean, where do you even start with these things? They drive like 80-year-old women who are off their medication. I shouldn't have said women. 80-year-old people who are off their medication, and it's really, sometimes it's very disconcerting. Although mostly it's just amusing, and I do want to point out that no one's actually been killed or injured by one of these things in San Francisco, but boy, has it pissed off a lot of people, these cars.
Well, but it's also come close. I mean, there was a video just that came out recently where I think it was Waymo that ran and almost hit like a family. It was like 2 women and 2 kids.
Oh,
and yeah, very close. Like they were in the street walk and going across the street. And the car's just like, okay, I'm going to take off right now.
Well, on Tuesday, a 71-year-old woman blew through a red light, making a right turn without stopping, and hit a family in a crosswalk down by the ballpark in San Francisco, and killed the 4-year-old girl and severely injured the father. And that no one's going to talk about that. Like, let's ban human drivers. But the safety aspect of autonomous vehicles is a very, very compelling argument. I gotta say, I think these things in general are much safer than human beings, but they sure don't interact well in the human world, I think. I mean, I assume they'll get better, but anyway, the evidence of them not working well is there's just hundreds of videos and documented incidents of these cars, swerving in their lanes, running stop signs, just doing weird, unpredictable things. In fact, just last night, I was driving in San Francisco, going to pick up a passenger, and did we have that video queued up? It's pretty good. Here we are, just cruising down my favorite street here, Gough Street, because it's time lights.
Boom!
Did you see that? That was a cop car.
Cuts off. I'm trying to cut off a cop car.
The unmanned cruise vehicle with a passenger with a
Just to put this in perspective, the autonomous vehicle is straight ahead of Gabe, and the car that just put its brake light on next to it is a cop car. So there's a construction zone coming up, and
that's the po-po.
And
see, you can see right there. Do you see the little white dot there? It was swerving around that little white dot.
Oh boy.
That's why it thought the white dot was debris.
Now here's the thing. What happens if there was a car literally right next to that car? What would have happened? Would it have gone right into the car? Or what?
Well,
that's what I want to know.
Chris, if we could do a very tiny deep dive.
Or would it slam on its brakes and make you smack into it?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's this classic kind of philosophical conundrum about the streetcars. You know this one that I'm talking about? Where you're standing at a switch and you're watching, and there's a baby in a baby carriage on one track, and then there's a bunch of like blind nuns on the other track, right?
Oh yeah.
And there's an out of control streetcar that's going down, and you have a choice to switch to make it either run over the baby or the nuns. And so what are you going to do? And this is how are you going to program these autonomous vehicles to react in a situation where they have to make the Hobson's choice, where they have to choose between bad and worse? What are they going to do?
I don't know if they've answered that question. Maybe ChatGPT can kind of help us figure out what it's been programmed with already. Even though if you gotta maneuver, you gotta break ChatGPT in order to find that answer out. But if you ask that question automatically, it'll be like, I can't give that answer.
So you're saying ask artificial intelligence what are the weaknesses of artificial intelligence?
No. Ask them about that particular instance.
How would they be? Yeah.
So if the streetcar was, out of control, and you could switch the track to go towards the family and the young children, or the group of nuns, or however you want to set it up, to see what it would say, so you could understand how it was programmed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to figure it out. But when it comes to these, things, do you think?
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Do you think they're going to take over, especially in San Francisco? Like they've just went to 2,500, or they're going to go to up to 2,500 now. So you said there's 400 out on the road. There's going to be more because the city council just approved that. What's that going to look like when it comes to the streets of San Francisco? How many cones are going to be on their heads? Putting them down. And the other thing that you alluded to the other day when you were talking is, large, massive events that will shut down and strain the cell networks, where these things will not be able to communicate with each other, or just in general, because it's just innuated with data going back and forth between, how many people's phones are there within that area. So what's it all going to look like? And good thing you guys are the test subjects versus somewhere else.
Where San Franciscans have been, Uber and Lyft started in San Francisco, so we've been the guinea pigs here for a long time. And when I first started rideshare driving in 2014, it was still there were still incidents of cabbies, blocking Uber and Lyft drivers and getting into physical fights or vandalizing their cars or doing stuff like that. And there were lots and lots of bumper stickers on the taxi cabs telling people how awful Uber and Lyft were. And there was this incident where an Uber driver beat one of his passengers with a hammer, which I know everyone here has been tempted to do it. Don't do it. And the taxi drivers are using us as an example of how terrible Uber and Lyft were. And I'm towards the because I used to be a taxi driver, so I sympathized with them, but there was just a huge unmet demand for service. And now 10 years later, I sympathize with those cabbies of 10 years ago. And most of those cabbies that own medallions are bankrupt. Don't have the taxi companies are bankrupt. You don't see as many taxi cabs out, and a lot of these cabbies they are not making very much money now, and it's because of Uber and Lyft. And now I'm kind of looking at the same thing, at least in terms of driving in San Francisco. Like, yeah, 5 years ago I wouldn't have believed that these things were viable, but now, yeah, I think so. I think for the short term anyway. Sergio just sent an article saying from Barron's, I think, that it's going to be $3 a mile to drive in one of these things.
Dang.
So
no, you know what? It's $3 a mile to fornicate in one of those things, because that's what everybody's going to be doing.
They don't charge by the minute.
Here's the thing.
They should charge by the minute for that. Because you don't know how far you're going to go. Oh, well, baby, I'm going to make love to you for 50 miles. No, you say I'm going to make love for all night long.
No, instead of time, they're going to each pump.
Boy. Oh, my God. Wow. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't say that.
And the sensors.
Oh.
But either way, I think what they're trying to do, they're going to price them higher, so then, like, anybody just doesn't get in, piss and shit in them. Fornicate in them, all these different things. There's a lot of things that they're probably trying to keep people out of when it comes to it. So why not put that marker right at like $3 a mile? But either way, I don't know.
It's crazy, but I think for the I think there's a lot of people. Do you know what? Can I tell you though? This is about 6 or 7 years ago. And I actually had one of Lyft's like policy people, one of their vice presidents for some kind of policy. This is back when Lyft had probably 300 vice presidents, right? But I asked him, I said,
was a VP.
Yeah, and he was heavily involved in Lyft's EV program at the time. And I said, are they ever going to completely replace Lyft drivers? And he said no, because there's certain kinds of things that autonomous vehicles won't be able to do. Those kind of rides where you got to drive someone way out into the sticks where there's no cell service out there, or it's a windy road with lots of animals. Like, EV won't be able to handle it. Like, you're always going to need human drivers for some trips. So I think that if you want to drive for Uber and Lyft, if that is your life's goal, to do that until you're too old to get in a car anymore, I think there'll always be opportunity for people who are hardworking and want to work the system, much like our Show Me the Money Club and EV Money listeners and viewers.
Yeah.
So, but in San Francisco, in the short term in San Francisco, it's gonna definitely be a thing. Last night I drove for 3 hours in San Francisco. 2 hours, and I saw a dozen cruise AVs with passengers in the back seat and no one driving in the front seat. And I think it's definitely the future.
Were they on top of each other?
No, I didn't see any sexy time.
Oh, oh man, yeah, but, that's definitely something to watch out for. Like at least if you have a driver in the front seat, they're like, hey, knock it off back there, get out of my car.
But here I'm just going to give some. I'm speaking now to the cruise AV management. If you get cruise AV management, if you get applications from passengers who want to ride in your cars, if their names are Crystal, Brandy,
with an I,
Tigress,
not a Y.
Tigress, Ginger, definitely don't give them an account, because the cleaning fees are going to be a little higher than you're expecting.
Very well could be. Very well could be. But so let's move on from the AVs. Let's talk about a couple of the newer vehicles coming out. So you got GM's Ultima platform. There's new vehicles coming out. What's going on with that? Tell us a little more.
Ultium, Ultium is so GM. GM built some of the first electric vehicles in modern times. I've posted on the Facebook group. I do a Throwback Thursday feature and write about EV history, and GM's been involved in building electric vehicles for 50-60 years, and a lot of the technology can I tell you something very interesting? This is something I posted a couple of months ago. I can't remember his name, but the one of the lead engineers from the GM EV1 project back in the 1990s which was the first kind of like mass production electric vehicle.
Yeah.
And people loved that car. The movie Who Killed the Electric Car, which I recommend anyone watching if they're interested in electric vehicle history. The lead engineer went to Tesla. He was one of the startup people at Tesla. So GM is really like, they're the guys. GM is like, they call them government motors for a reason. It's a huge company with thousands of engineers and scientists, and they could build whatever they want. And when they want to build the greatest electric vehicle ever, it's going to be a GM product if they want to build it. It's all a matter of resources, and they have to balance, profitability with ease of manufacture and customer demand and all these factors. So the Ultium platform is GM's kind of third generation EV platform. And already, though, I think it's getting kind of long in the tooth. The charging speed, and they designed it to be modular and to be able to adapt to different battery chemistries. When you talk about an EV platform, what that means is basically the drivetrain, the motor, the battery, the controller, the software. And usually these platforms are designed to be modular, so you can build anything from a sports car to a big 7-passenger SUV or giant pickup truck. And the Ultium platform, you can build just about anything from a very small car. Well, the Equinox is currently the smallest Equinox or Ultium platform vehicle, all the way to this 7-passenger Escalade that they just announced. That Escalade carries 7-passenger, and I'm sure it is pimp as fuck on the inside, but it's $130,000 and has about a 350-mile range. And surprisingly, for the money, the charging performance of the Ultium platform is kind of disappointing. It's much slower than the Hyundai Kia platform, which can charge to 80% from 10% in under 20 minutes. But this is,
what is
you're
this?
looking more like
I see 40 minutes for
40 minutes to get to 80%. If you start at 30, so it's not great. Although if you just want to add 100 miles, you can do that in probably less than 15 minutes. And honestly, this is going to be part of my rant, but how much range do you really need? How much
on
range
vacation?
Do you really need?
Quite a bit.
Well, are you is this car for vacationing or for working? It's all about what are your needs from the. Let me spray some water. My cat. Is he?
Well, I think a $130,000 vehicle for most people who are Uber and Lyft driving, probably not going to be getting the Cadillac.
No, but I'll tell you, nothing stirs up the EV forum like the thought of a 7-passenger electric vehicle, because to them that is like the holy grail, where you've got really reduced fuel costs, but you can do XL. Because think about it, most XL vehicles are getting 15 miles per gallon. I know we got a guy in here, I think he said he had has a Pacifica hybrid, which would probably, if it wasn't a Chrysler product, would probably be great, because you've got pretty reasonable gas mileage, but you've got 7-passenger seating. But to have an EV where you're getting the equivalent of 80, 90 miles per gallon, and you're driving a 7-passenger vehicle, like, that sounds pretty good to a lot of guys. Unfortunately, the cheapest 7-passenger EV is looking like $70,000 or more.
Yeah, so it's out of reach for many people, which is unfortunate. But
I know. But I mean, honestly, like, I haven't read a lot on RideShare Guy, and this is something I'd love to explore or hear from our readers or listeners and viewers, is how good is it doing XL? Like, do you really make more per hour driving XL? Or
to a point, because luckily I have an XL. So
okay.
I got a 22 Honda Pilot,
right.
which is
7-passenger.
Right.
I knew that.
And XL's it's better and it's not at the same time. It just depends on it really comes down to your market. It really comes down on who you're driving, when you're driving, as pretty much anything else. because there's going to be less demand for XL vehicles. You need to know when that demand is going to be in your particular area, and the pay is you're getting a little better. It's definitely gone down with upfront pricing comparatively to what it would have been on a rate card.
Mhm.
So that's kind of disappointing to see. But does it say, is it worth it to put in $130,000 car? Hell no. God no. I mean, if you got something that's like a, in my instance, or a hybrid or something like that, yeah, then XL could potentially be an option for you. But again, it's going to come down to your market, what's going on, how many drivers are in that particular market. I mean, as anybody, Joe in our chat right now, he drives. I don't know. Actually, I don't even know if he's still got the minivan or not. But he had a Prius that was driving Uber and Lyft, and then got a minivan for XL. He's in San Francisco as well too. So it's he's looking at going back to either a Prius or EV or something. I'm not sure beyond that. So I haven't seen him in one of his lives lately, but yeah, it's one of those things where you kind of gotta really know what's going on in order to see if that's going to be worth it for you or not.
Sure, and I should say this at the beginning of every show. EVs aren't perfect; they're not for everyone, and I'm not here to get everyone to buy an EV. But I am here to educate people and let them know that if the numbers work for you, you should definitely do it. But if they don't work for you, you shouldn't do it. It's not right. So don't.
Well, going on then, look, what's the new Blazer?
Ooh, new Blazer. So this is going to be, they're going to start building this year, and it's I think this car it's all-wheel drive. This is like the top of the line Blazer. The bottom of the line Blazer is going to be rear-wheel drive. It's basically going to be a fancier Equinox. It'll be rear-wheel drive, and it'll probably start around $35,000. This one's $55,000 as equipped. Of course, that's before the tax credit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all-wheel drive, 400-something horsepower, 280-mile range, and then the Ultium platform, which means it charges a lot faster than the Bolt, but slower than a Tesla or a Hyundai product. But still,
those are all definitely things to keep
it.
in mind.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, those are definitely things to keep in mind. So the next thing you got is Tesla will be huge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's gonna be huge.
Huge. It's huge. I decided I've started experimenting with writing like people do on YouTube, where everything's like in all caps. Huge.
Yeah, Tesla's gonna be huge. Everybody, huge. At Fusillo.
Smash the like button. Smash it. Tesla is Tesla is a company that surprisingly does not change its product line a lot. They've only introduced 4 models or 5 models since 2011.
Yeah.
And one of them is the Cybertruck. One of them is the Model 3. And the Model 3 was first shown, the first production versions kind of rolled out in like early 2017. It's a long time ago. And they have not changed very much since then. There was a little interior refresh, but otherwise they haven't changed. This is the new they call it the code name is Highland, and they redesigned the front and rear fascia and the interior to make it kind of simpler and cleaner, and more importantly, cheaper to produce. So they have stopped making Model 3s and to retool for the new updated Model 3. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Model 3 doesn't have another price cut to take it maybe even closer to the high 20s after incentives. So that's going to be something to look for.
Now and that's definitely a lot more in reach for people who want to drive, something like that versus the Cadillac at 130K.
I mean, you go try to buy a Toyota Camry hybrid in California right now. The sticker price is 28, like that's the MSRP, but dealers are adding a few grand to them because Toyota owners are very brand loyal. Don't want to say anything mean about Toyota owners. They're very brand loyal. Their cars are very dependable and they really love them, and they will happily pay a premium because in the mind of a Toyota owner, I'm going to have this car for 20 years because my grandpa had his Toyota for 20 years and he drove it until the wheels fell off. Do you love how people say that? I'm going to drive it till the wheels fall off. Like, don't, like, have you?
I don't want to drive it when the wheels fall off.
No,
I want to be safe.
I have actually driven in a car where the wheel fell off.
Oh, when I was driving back from vacation, we saw a wheel fall off too.
I mean, if you think the wheels are going to fall off, why are you driving it? But
I think you should just tighten your lugs right there.
Anyway, so this is a spy photo of of the updated Model 3 in China, where they're actually right now as we speak. I think they've actually started making them. So we're gonna see a big update on the Tesla website. Now it's not going to be Tesla's sub $25,000 car. Tesla has talked for many, many years about building a very affordable mass market car. And this is where they're going to build it. This is an artist's conception of the new Mexico Gigafactory, which is going to be twice the size of the Texas Gigafactory. And that factory is going to have a production capacity of in excess of 1 million cars a year. It's going to be all solar panels and sustainable, yada, yada, yada. But the permits for that factory have been approved. And I think as we speak, they are moving earth-moving equipment onto the site to start digging it up. And Tesla does things fast. And Mexico is a great place to be if you like to do things fast, because things seem to happen faster when Mexicans are working on it. So as do the Chinese, build things fast. So I think this is going to be where the base priced Tesla is going to be, and no one knows what it's going to be called. Maybe the Model 2, maybe the Model 4, who knows? Maybe the Model El Cheapo is my pick. And they are going to be they're going to be cranking these things out. And if you can imagine, I mean, I don't think they're going to have a problem producing this thing for an MSRP of under $25,000, if not cheaper. I'd expect a range of about 200 miles, and it'll be a very simple, 4-door hatchback probably. Very small car, perfect for cities, perfect for developing countries like India, because they're talking about building a factory in India as well. So countries like India and China and Mexico, they don't need 8,000-pound SUVs that can go 140 miles an hour. They need simple, dependable, inexpensive transportation, and that's what Tesla's going to build.
They don't have Model T, right? They don't have Model T, right?
They can't because Ford still has the trademark and is somehow.
Well, I think they're going to come out with something like that. That'll be the Tesla T or something.
They wanted to. Yeah. They wanted to call the Model 3 the Model E, but Ford had already trademarked Model E, and they instead of using Model E, now they call it the Mach E. Yeah, they wanted sexy. Yeah. So they 3, which is a backwards E.
Yep.
So now it's sexy for dyslexics. Okay, this is and then also the other big Tesla news is it's taken many years to get here, but that's the first Cybertruck off the production line, off of the regular assembly line, and so
they're coming.
The Cybertruck is now in officially a production vehicle. The first, they're going to send the first few hundred for like testing and certification and crash testing and stuff like that. But I expect the first customers to take delivery of a Cybertruck in the next month or two, and that's going to be
spotted in the wild.
Yeah, that's going to be a kick-ass Uber car. It might be under 50 grand, the starting, or maybe even under. Yeah, I would say under 50 grand, which means it would be 42.5, which for a pickup truck of that size and that capability, I think is pretty good price.
Yeah.
Pickup
We'll-
trucks
we'll
are the most
see once it-
expensive cars sold in America.
Yeah.
Do you know what the top of the line like Lariat F350 costs? Are like $80,000-$90,000.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then you
So
look at
for
like
some-
the Raptor, like the F-150 Raptor. It's like what,
Yeah.
80 grand or something now.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, they're expensive. I mean, even like
Yeah.
base model, like you get a no frills pickup or anything. You know, you're looking
Yeah.
sometimes
30, still
38,000.
Except for that.
You know, there's nothing really below that unless
Well,
it's
the
used.
Maverick, the Ford Maverick, which is actually pretty cool, I think.
Mm.
But people don't, you're not a real man if you have a truck like that. Like you gotta get a man's truck. Like that's a girl's
that's like,
truck.
That's like driving an El Camino.
Yeah, you don't want that. All
All
right.
right, so what happened with your tire? What's going
Ah.
on with your tire?
I don't even buy new tires anymore. This is gonna horrify listeners and viewers. I buy used tires now. I'm not buying new tires anymore because I have destroyed 10 tires in the last year. 10.
Jesus.
10.
Oh my God! Why?
hit
How do you go
potholes.
through that many tires? I
Oakland.
never have had any issues. I've had one time where my one tire dry rotted because I don't know. It just decided to, and that was the only time it went flat. Other than that, I've replaced my tires when they needed to be replaced.
That's how life is supposed to be in a normal world. But I don't live in a normal world, Chris. I live in Oakland, California,
You
where
you live in the Bay.
it's crazy, man. And we have Oakland has a 65 year or 80 year what's called a paving cycle, which means that the city budget is set up to repave any individual street an average of once per 80 years. 80.
Oh my God.
So the potholes have potholes, man. Like some of the streets are so horrific. I was coming off the freeway once. This is a few months ago. Coming off the freeway with a passenger, this is right after we had some big storms. There was a sharp edge pothole about this deep, and my sidewall went against the edge of that pothole and tore the sidewall right open.
Ooh.
And that's new tire time, man. And so now I don't buy new tires. And good thing, because this is one of the used tires that I bought. Do you see that lag bolt there at the bottom? About 4 inches of it, 4 inches of that bolt snapped off inside my wheel, and it wedged a hole through the rim, so that even after I plugged my tire, it wouldn't hold air because there was a hole in the rim. And luckily, I have a friend with a TIG welder who knows how to use it, and he came and you only lived like a mile away. He came and rescued me, and we welded up, and then we went and ate a lot of tacos, and I was on my way. But so anyone watching or listening right now, does your car have a jack and a spare? And
Yes,
if
mine
it
does.
doesn't, yeah, awesome, yeah, because it's a Pilot, right? So they got room for that. But like most EVs,
it's funny. It's under the car. It's not like within the trunk or anything because
do you have to jack the car up to get it out? How do you get it out?
No, I could get it. There's enough room for me to go underneath.
Oh, so you just kind of reach down underneath behind the car?
Yeah, I could get down, unbolt that, and then lower the tire down. So that's not really big issue there. But there's a lot of cars that don't have spare tires in them now. They got the little run flat. So you spray it in your tire and
the little.
hope that it'll,
don't use that stuff. Don't use that stuff. Don't even bother. One, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and your mechanic's going to charge you extra to clean all that shit out of the inside of the wheel. So don't use it. Throw it away. Keep the compressor and buy a kit. Should I tell the name of the kit? Because
that's your call.
I think they should sponsor it. So go look for the stop. It's called it's called the plug and go or the stop and go. Anyway, look on Amazon for the plug and go or the stop and go, and it is an internal mushroom plug. And on the package it says temporary repair only, but it's an internal plug and it's mushroom shaped, which means the air pushes the mushroom head up against the inside of the tire, and then the stem is sticking out through the hole. I mean, if you go to a tire shop, they're going to put a mushroom plug in there, and they're going to tell you it's a permanent repair. Although some tire shops, because for liability, they're like, no. And of course, for liability purposes, I'm telling you, if you get a hole in your tire, even if it's the 10th tire this year, make sure you go to your dealership and have a $400 tire professionally installed. That way, you're only spending $4,000 a year on tires. Make sure you do that, because otherwise, you'll fix it with the patch, and then you'll get a flat tire, and you'll run over the nuns and the baby in the carriage. And then you'll
because instead of going in one way, you're going to go sideways.
Yep, you're going to be going sideways, spinning around just like this reaper of death, and baby carriages and nuns flying every direction. So we're not telling you to use a mushroom-shaped plug, but I'm just saying, in my personal experience, a mushroom-shaped plug has been pretty much a permanent repair. And sometimes there's like 5 of them in my tire at once. And maybe not 5, but 2 or 3. And
Jesus.
And like, what are you gonna
I don't
do?
have anywhere near the amount of problems you do when it comes to driving on the road.
We were talking about that. Oakland and San Francisco are just constantly
Littered
under
with
construction. Constantly under construction. And then because it's California, construction projects take decades, and I'm not exaggerating, decades. And so there's just debris everywhere from these contractor trucks, because they fall out the back of the pickup trucks, and there's crap all over the streets. So
not cool.
Anyway, no.
All right.
So what I'm saying is make sure your car has, and even if you do have a jack and spare, like if you use jack and spare, now you have to take your tire to a tire shop and have them repair it or replace it. Why not just find the hole, pull the thing out, put the plug in, and inflate it with a compressor? It takes me less than 5 minutes. Like, that's easier than using a jack and a spare. And 99% of the time, well, not 99, but 90% of the time, it's just going to be a screw or a nail or some piece of something stuck in the tread, in the inner 2/3 of the tread where it's safe to do a tire repair, and you'll be on your way. Sometimes your passenger will even wait.
Well, that's not bad if they wait. All right. So next we got some tire talk, or I mean some form questions that you were talking about. Uber shaving and Gabe's.
Well,
you don't need 400-mile range rant.
So one question is, people are still noticing that their Uber,
was it this one?
The Uber EV bonus, they're right, and you've covered this ad infinitum on the Show Me the Money Club, but just in case you haven't gone and checked back, so go scroll through the Show Me the Money Club archives and watch the shows. Chris and Sergio have just done amazing work on this topic and have revealed what, in my opinion, is criminal fraud on the part of Uber, and shaving 20 cents a ride. So we thought we were getting $1 a ride for having an EV. No, we were getting 80 cents. But maybe you're not getting 80 cents. If they can set the pricing without any kind of rate card, does $1 extra ride even mean anything? Like,
well, the one good thing though is that it appears to be fixed, so that's good.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
So the EV shaving looks to be good. When Sergio was in Colorado, he did a test with 2 EVs and 2 regular drivers, and it seemed like it worked good. So we're still going to go through everything, make sure that dollar is back. The other thing too is Uber did give the EV credit where credit was due. So if they had some sort of mess ups, people were getting money into their accounts based on that. So it's definitely something that we found that they've noticed and had to correct. So yeah, that's appearing to be fixed. Obviously, it's one of those things where we are going to continually watch that when it comes to, the different types of shaving, because we want to make sure that these things are not, getting reintroduced. We want to make sure that if they're saying you're getting $1 extra per ride, you're getting $1 extra per ride. We want to make sure that driver A and driver B, if they're in the exact same spot and both rides come up, that they're getting the exact same pay. So there's a lot of things there that we're making sure, trying to make sure by continually check on that. So something like that is definitely, at this moment, it looks to be fixed. We can't say that with certainty, but the only way we can do that is get together with a couple of people, grab some coffee with others, put your phones on, screen record it, and then see what kind of rides are coming in. Are the EV drivers getting the dollar extra than the non-EV drivers? That's the only way we're going to be able to know.
All right. Yeah. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance, right, Chris?
Yep. Oh, for sure.
So
And then
one
what's
thing,
what's this little chart right here?
yeah, one of the big objections, and you hear this a lot. You hear this especially from Prius drivers. Well, my Prius can go 500 miles on a tank of gas. I'm like, okay, that's great. So how much money are you making if you drive 500 miles a day, and you earn, I don't know, $300 in those 10 hours that you're driving all that? That means you're going 50 miles an hour, and if your costs are 20 cents a mile, that means you're spending, like, what is that? 50 times 20, 10, like, is that $10 a mile? Or $10 an hour is your costs? So now you've worked 10 hours to make 300 minus, so now you're really only making $20 an hour because you drive so much. So what I'm wondering is, all these people who say I can't have an EV because I just drive too much. These EVs, they don't have enough range. Their range is a joke. Well, just for some pushback, I went back and I looked through 10 years of my trip logs, and I only found 1 or 2 days where I drove over 300 miles. Mm-hmm. And this includes the time, and usually I only work 20 hours a week or less, but those were days when I was working over 40 hours a week. I would actually those are also the days when I was pursuing Sergio's long range trip strategy, where you would filter out, you'd only take the extra long trips, back when there was an actual rate card and you could actually make, if you had a 40-mile ride, you'd make $80, and that was a good deal. Yeah. But now that 40-mile ride, now they pay $22, and that's not a good deal at all. Why do you want that trip? Why do you want that trip? Why do you want to put 500 miles on your car every day? Mm-hmm. Like, that's insane.
Yep.
Even my car that charges slower than molasses, it can add, 75 miles of range, 100 miles of range in a half-hour lunch break. So
mm-hmm. I think that's one of the things I think too that some people need to realize when it comes to it. Look, rideshare driving is very unhealthy for those who are doing it, especially full-time or more. And when I say or more, I mean like you're doing 40, 50, 60, 70 hours behind the wheel driving. That means you're sitting there sedentary for that amount of time driving. And it's hard on the body. It's rough on the body. And depending on what you're eating, you're going to be putting on weight. I've fallen into that trap too. So it's very unhealthy. So honestly, charging time, if you have to pull over and charge for half an hour, get out, walk around, do something. Don't sit in the car and, watch YouTube or something when, in a Tesla. But, get out, walk around, or do something. Stand around, talk to another Tesla that might be charging right there, or somebody, especially if they're, rideshare driving or whatnot. But yeah, mm-hmm. I mean, anything that I'm always in favor of, something that will help people get out and take a small break. I'm not saying, that this is something that you should be doing like daily when it comes to these breaks and trying to recharge and all that stuff. This is something where, the average person may not hit that range, or if they do, depending on when you're driving, you take it out, or you go offline and you charge during those slow times. So then that way you're not, missing when it's going to be busy. So it's not going to cost you in the long run. It's just, how are you going to use the information that you have by going out and driving the times that you need to drive, and also pairing that with when you need to charge your car or even fill your car. You want to make sure you're doing it during the times that's going to be most beneficial to you as a driver. Mm-hmm. Exactly so, I mean, right. Like that's the other thing. Like, what, I'm the range is one thing, and I could say, I don't get enough range when it comes to like me going on trips, and I drive quite a bit. when it comes to trips. So like to me, that's where it's not worth it. The second part is, what about cold weather? I've seen quite a bit when it comes back and forth, and it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you really got to be on that. And then just the cost where that is, but
it's true. It's true. When I was selling cars, I was just trying to wrap things up because we're getting close to time. But
yeah.
When I used to sell cars, like it became very obvious very quickly that people don't buy the cars they need. They buy the cars they want because they think they're going to need all these features because they're making such a big investment. They're afraid that they need to be able to do everything you could possibly do in a car. And no, there's no such thing as a perfect car that has everything for every passenger, for every driver. Like that just doesn't exist. And EVs are limited compared to gasoline cars for sure. But all I'm asking is that drivers look really honestly at what their needs are for how they drive, for how they do their gig work, whether they're delivery or Uber or Lyft driver. Like, yeah, where you live in Buffalo, you definitely need all-wheel drive, and you definitely need more range because in the winter, because it gets down to 190 below zero in Buffalo when the wind's blowing off the lake.
Yeah, but you know what?
Frozen solid.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Wind chill does not equal air temperature. So it could be 20 degrees, and I could be outside at so when we had the Christmas blizzard, this is a perfect example. So you have, 40, 50 mile an hour, 60 mile an hour gusts, sustained winds like 20, 30 easily.
That's awful.
And it was like, I want to say, I don't remember how cold it was. It was cold. It was frigid. And I go across the street to the lake to see how it is with the waves and all that. And I take a video. Just me walking from where I am to the lake, holding my phone to take a video. My shit was freezing. My skin was feeling frozen and felt like it was burning because it was so cold. Just for that short of time. Now the temperature though is not the same. So if it's 20 degrees outside, it's 20 degrees. It's not, negative 14 wind chill. So that's one of the other things too. They want to make it seem more sensationalized. Oh, it felt like it was negative 25 degrees outside. Yeah, but it was still, 15 degrees. It's cold. It sucks.
Stuff, right? Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing though is, when it comes down to range, you gotta know what's going on. There's quite a few Tesla owners around, but
cold weather saps range for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cold weather saps range. But it also kills gas mileage, if I'm not mistaken.
To a point. Yeah, to a point. Like I get better gas mileage in the summer.
Sure. But I mean, you can always buy more gas, right? That's easy. But also, I would think that your trips would be shorter in the winter, in general. Like you'd be driving less miles in the winter. Like, does your mileage vary depending on weather? Like how many miles you drive at a shift?
Not really, because the winter time is the busier time. Like now it's just starting to pick up because college is getting back into town, and schools are going back into session. So teachers aren't driving. You're getting more rides because people want to go to and from, whether it's college grounds to their apartment or to the bars or to the party or whatever it might be. So there's a lot more interaction going on there. When it comes down to, if you're comparing like now to, winter, it's not that much difference. You're probably driving more in the winter, except for during college break for the month. So during that time, it's going to be quiet again. But yeah.
Much difference. What do you average if you drive an 8-hour shift? Like how many miles are you doing?
Well, I usually don't do 8 hours. Sometimes I do. That's more on the weekends. So like I usually will go out around 8, and then it just depends on the night. Sometimes it'll be back, 12, 1. Other times it'll be like 3 or 4. So yeah, there could be 8 hours. On the longer days, honestly, probably 250.
My car will go 250 miles on a full charge when it has a new battery. But I don't know. I mean, and then if it was really cold, it would go 190 miles on a full charge. So, it's just it's aggravating as an EV advocate to. I mean, all I'm asking is for people to be realistic. I'm not asking people to like drink any Kool-Aid or buy into anything or believe anything that isn't true. I'm just saying, look at your average miles per shift. It might work for you to drive an EV. And even if you drive more than that, do you really need to drive 300, 400, 500 miles in a shift? Are you really making more money than if you were just selecting
if you're
shorter
driving
rides?
300, 400, 500 miles in a shift,
What are you doing?
I hope you're going somewhere further. But the other side of the thing is, are you driving around waiting for rides to come in, or are you pulling over and
How do you do that? How do
waiting
you
for a
drive?
ride to come in?
How do you drive 500 miles in a day? Driving Uber and Lyft.
I don't know.
But there are people that commute 100 miles or 200 miles each way to go to a service
different.
area.
Yeah,
But,
that's different.
I mean, those
because
guys
that's what they're
obviously
doing in order to make it.
But now I'm talking to those guys like, is this really worth it? Like, are you making a profit doing that? Really look at your numbers, because part of Uber and Lyft's business model is depending on you making that bad decision to run your car into the ground in hopes of just surviving short term, right? Because that's why they like the driver churn.
Sergio just chirps in, which I know we'd be talking about on Tuesday. He's got 38 trips this weekend for 550 bonus.
So sweet. So sweet.
And then he says, let's see if I can get 1K out of it by staying within 9 miles of the house.
Right? That's how you do it. I last week I drove 350 miles to do 50 trips total.
Yeah, see, there you go. And the reality of it,
4 days to do that.
Yeah, the reality of it is when it comes down to range, and it comes down to Uber and Lyft driving, I've always said the reality of the situation is if you have a car that has a good range, you will probably be perfectly fine throughout the day, throughout that shift. You charge it at night at home, or you go to a fast charger or whatever before your shift or whatever it is. And, at that point, then you should probably be fine. Even if you're driving around 8 hours or so, you should be pretty much all right. But we'll see.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
So that's my rant.
Anything last there, Gabe?
No, that was my rant. If you want to gamble on getting these giant unicorn trips where you're going to make $1,000 driving 100 miles or whatever fantasy is in your mind, and that's why you can't have an EV, that's not a job, that's gambling. Mm-hmm. So, but I may be wrong. Please join our EV group on Facebook, and we can talk about like what you really need out of an EV and what you need out of driving of your vehicle to make money and support yourself, because that's why we're all here, right?
Yep. All right. This was EV Money. Woo-hoo. We'll see you guys next month. And then also, don't forget, we got Show Me the Money Club live with myself and Sergio Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, as well as Money Hungry with Kim and Zach. That is on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, as well as all of our other great content here on the RideShare Guy and any one of its channels, whether that's YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, wherever it is. Make sure you're following. All right, we'll see you guys next time on EV Money.
See you, Chris. Thanks a lot.
Have a good one.